Welcome back to another episode of Addicted to Quitting, where we are focusing on quitting the habits that no longer serve us so we can elevate our health, our habits, and our happiness. My name is Gentry. I am a divorced mom to 4 boys, and I am also over 6 years sober. Today, I'm going to talk about a habit, a mindset that I think we should challenge. It's something that I've challenged as a mom. It's something that I think we should quit doing as parents. It's my opinion. I know not everyone is going to agree with this, but if you would like to hear this opinion, if you'd like to hear this outside of the box thinking, then stick around. This episode is for you. So if you saw the title of this podcast, you already know what is coming, but I let my boys paint their nails. Yes, I do. I let my boys paint their nails. And my opinion on doing this might not be the same as your opinion on doing this, but I wanted to just explain why I do this because it's so much deeper than just letting your kids add art to their fingers or their toes. It's so much deeper for me as a parent for an opportunity to teach them lessons about life. It's so much deeper of like, how can I set them up for success? How can I set them up to be confident in themselves? How can I set them up to continue to think outside the box and not worry about if other people are thinking outside the box? For me, this is not about allowing my boys to do a girl thing with the quotations like girl thing, right? Girls typically paint their nails. Girls typically play dress up. Girls typically have dolls. Girls typically have those things. Boys typically have trucks. Boys typically play sports or build forts or whatever it might be. But the gender roles of boys and girls, this is not about gender roles. This is about building confidence. And I know you like there's people out there that do not agree with this. They think like if you are allowing your boy to do girl things, you're going to set them up to be bullied. I almost want my kids to be bullied, and that might sound completely weird and abnormal and like why would you want your kid to be bullied? Because when they're under my roof, I can teach them how to handle being bullied. I can teach them how to handle other people not having the same opinions as you. Like I personally want my kids to do things that, and I mean, as long as they're kind, as long as they're respectful. But if it's in what they think is cool, or they want to try something, my oldest son wore his pants inside out. He wore his jeans inside out one time because he thought they'd look cool. And I didn't say people don't wear their pants inside out. Correct that. I said, wear it, rock it, be confident in what you do. People made fun of him. He wore it, he rocked it, he was confident in what he did. He also painted his nails. If you're going to paint your nails, people might have something to say about it. So if you're going to do it, you better be ready to stay calm, to stay confident, and not let it affect you. Because the moment it starts to let it affect you, you're letting them win. And also, if it starts to affect you and you start to lash back out at kids at school, now you're going to get in trouble. And you just created all these things when you could have just let it go. So I want them to be put in situations where other people are going to have different opinions than them. Because I want to teach them that other people's opinions do not get to dictate the path that you are on. So I allow my kids to do things that are outside of the box. I allow my kids to do things that not everyone is doing or not every parent approves of with reason, right? Like and people are like, you let your kids climb on things. So I don't always let them do that. I want them to be respectful of other people's spaces. I understand that the twins are out of control sometimes. I'm not saying that I want them to just be disrespectful or I don't want them to be aware of other people. But when it comes to being creative, when it comes to wearing your pants inside out, when it comes to painting your nails, even though you're a boy, it's different. And I want my kids to know that different is okay. I personally, because I know there's a lot of people out here like, I don't want to condition my son to be homosexual or to be not to be a strong man or to not be a provider and a protector if I allow them to do female things. And I just really don't see it that way. One, I see it as that you can't make somebody be gay. I personally strongly believe that you are either born a certain way, and I think of sexuality as like on a spectrum. Like there's people that are very, very heterosexual, there's people that are very, very homosexual, and then there's like a spectrum of in between. Like, oh, I kind of think guys are attractive, but I'm more attracted to girls, or I kind of think girls are attractive, but I'm more attracted to boys, or whatever it might be. But I think of sexuality as like a spectrum. And I don't think that you can influence that spectrum by allowing your kids to kind of like do different things that might be more of a different gender role. I personally don't think of it that way. That's my opinion. So for me, allowing my kids to paint their nails I don't see it as allowing them to do a girl thing. I see it as allowing them to do something that is outside the box. Allowing them to do something that other people might not approve of, allowing them to do something that other people might think is weird or not cool or whatever. But I'm not going to allow them to soak in the outside noise. I had my oldest son. He wanted to paint his nails, and I told you he was also the one that wore his pants inside out. He also wanted to get his ears pierced, and there was a kid at school that was making fun of him for wanting to get his ears pierced. And every single time my kids have done something outside of the box, we've had a conversation, and this conversation I think is going to change their life. I know it's going to change their life. I know that at some point in their life they're going to have $1 million idea. They're going to have a dream. They're going to have a goal. They're going to be like, I want to do this. And there's going to be people that say, that is crazy. That is so outside the box. Nobody is doing that. And my kids are going to have the confidence to go for it because I let them paint their nails. And you don't have to agree with me, but I strongly believe that my kids will push through outside opinions and stay focused on their goals and comparing themselves to what they want and comparing themselves to, like, they'll have the confidence in themselves and take pride in themselves and their opinions and what they think is cool and what they think is right. And they'll have the confidence to show up and push through that because I allowed them to do these things and because I taught them how to get through this. So my oldest son, I allowed him to paint his nails. I allowed him to wear his pants inside out. I allowed him to pierce his ears. I allowed him to get a perm. All of these things were things that other kids weren't doing yet or at all. The pants, that trend never caught on. Wearing the pants inside out, never. That was not a trend that kept going. The ears getting pierced did. There was a lot of other kids that ended up getting their ears pierced. There's also a lot of other kids that ended up getting perms. So not all of them are winners, and not all of them have to be trendsetters, right? Like it was just he wanted to do it, and so he did it. And something that this taught him is to have confidence in what you want to do. I personally think it also builds like the pride and the trust in yourself to where you're competing not with other people's opinions, not with what so-and-so is doing on their test, not what so-and-so is doing with their life and how they're dressing, but like, what do I want for myself? And by doing this, by allowing them to have that confidence and building that foundation of confidence, he is at the top of his class academically because I let him paint his nails. Okay, maybe it's not because I let him paint his nails, but I really truly do believe that it did build a pride and a confidence in who I am and how I show up. And it's an internal competition with myself, not dependent on outside opinions, outside pressure. He doesn't wear his pants inside out anymore. He doesn't paint his toes. He doesn't paint his fingers. His ears are still pierced, but he has a different hairstyle now. Now he shaved his head and he bleached it. So he has a short hair with bleach and it's different. It's different than other kids, but he grew into what he wanted to do. He no longer wants to paint his nails because he just doesn't like think that it's as cool as it used to be. But if he decided he wanted to, he would do it. He wouldn't not do it because other kids aren't doing it. And this is something that I truly believe has given my kids the confidence and has prepped them for the real world that outside opinions are always going to be there. Outside opinions are always going to be there. There is a non-verbal, like just a societal expectation of how men should act, of how women should act, of how kids should act, of how parents should act, of how everybody should act, right? Like, oh, we have to be in these boxes, right? We have to be like these certain ways. We have to show up this way, and this is anything outside of this is like, do we want to go there? Because everybody's doing this. And if I go outside of this, people might look at me. People might notice me. And if they're going to notice me, they might be able to pick me apart. They might be able to tear me down. And by allowing my kids to step outside of that status quo early, I am teaching them how to not care what other people think. On the flip side, something that I think is very, very important is to teach them to care what they think. Because if I teach them to not care what anybody thinks, and you can do whatever you want, who cares what you think or what anybody else thinks, you could set them up to be like, I don't care what anybody thinks about me being lazy. I don't care what anybody thinks about me breaking into this house. I don't care what anybody thinks. Like, no, I don't want them to care about outside opinions, but I focus heavily on what is the opinion you have of yourself. How do you want to show up? How do you want to be remembered? And that's where we really talk about the response that they could have to somebody bullying them or somebody making comments is like, how do you want to be remembered? Do you want to be remembered as the kid that lashed out and said something mean back? Do you want to be remembered as the kid that beat somebody up because they made fun of you? Do you want to be remembered as the kid that stood tall and say, I am who I am and I'm proud of who I am? I teach them not only to not care about what outside opinions are, but to also significantly care about the opinions you have of yourself. Because at the end of the day, you are the only person you have. You are the only person you have. And the opinions the opinions you have of yourself are going to be the ceiling that is put on your life. If you don't believe you are capable of the next level, you won't ever get there. If you don't believe you're a kind person, if you don't believe in your heart that that's the type of person you want to be, you won't be a kind person. If you don't believe that you are strong, if you don't believe that you are capable, if you don't believe that you are all these things, you will not get there. And so I don't want my kids to focus on what other people are thinking of what they're doing. I want them to focus on what they're thinking of what they're doing. I want to teach them to have that pride, that moral compass of like, be good because it feels good to be good. Be kind to people that are being mean to you because it feels good to be kind. It doesn't feel good to lash back out, and you don't solve any problems lashing back out. Do your best because you want to do your best. You want to be proud of yourself. You want to show up on the next level. You want to have the $1 million idea. And you're not going to let other people's opinions slow you down, because I can't even tell you how many hours and days and probably even years, if you add them all together, of moments I've allowed other people's opinions of me dictate my decisions. I've allowed it to put a ceiling on my potential because I'm like, oh, that's different. Oh, that's different. No, people aren't going to approve of that. People aren't going to agree with this. People are going to be really uncomfortable if I do this. My parents are going to be super uncomfortable if I do this. They went to school. They got their degrees. They became teachers. They worked their jobs. They stayed consistent. They did what they were supposed to do. And I didn't want to do that. And my parents weren't saying you cannot do that. There was no, it's just this like nonverbal just energy that we're supposed to do what everybody else is doing and stay in line. And that outside approval will give us that internal joy, that internal peace. And I don't believe in that. I think that the societal pressure has become our moral compass, and I don't believe in that, and that's not what I want for my kids. I want my kids to have their own moral compass. I want them to have their own core values. I want them to have their own beliefs. I want them to have their own like spiritual connections and allow their God to lead them, and allow their beliefs in themselves and their morals of what's right and being kind and being good, and not being like, oh, I did this wrong, or I'm a little bit different than these people, so therefore I'm wrong. Like, they don't agree with me, so that's what is affecting my opinion of myself. No. I want them to have this really strong belief in themselves, this comparison in the best version of them, like your moral compass, your values, how you want to show up in this world, how you want to be remembered in this world, and not based on what you think other people are going to want from you, or what other people expect from you, or what other people think is right or wrong, quotations, like right or wrong, like no, because there's a lot of things that are up for interpretation, right? Like we know what being kind is, we know what being respectful is, we know what being hardworking is, right? Like I want them to have their own understanding of those moral things that they want to, how they want to show up in this world. And allowing them to step outside the box and see and being able to teach them and walk them through the process of other people's opinions allows me to teach them how to have that $1 million idea and go for it. To have that outside the box thinking and go for it. To have that, what do I think of me? What do I think of me? How do I want to be remembered? How do I want to feel about myself at the end of the day? Not how do I want them to feel about me at the end of the day? How do I want to feel about myself? And being good and kind makes you feel better. I don't know about you guys. I don't know about but any time that I have been mean, I've been nasty, I've been toxic, I've been ugly, I've been lashing back out at people, I did not feel good at the end of the day. I did not feel good at the end of the day. So even if people are going to have a different opinion of me, because it's not about, I don't care what they think of me, so therefore I'm going to do X, Y, and Z and be mean and be awful and be gross and be nasty back because I don't care what they think of me. It's saying, how do I want to feel about the end of the day? How do I want to feel? I want to feel smart. I want to feel confident. I want to feel in control of my emotions. I want to feel that like I believe in myself. And so what kind of actions do I need to have and how do I need to respond to outside opinions for me to be able to keep that feeling, to be able to keep that moral compass? And so that's what I am teaching them by allowing them to do things that are outside the box, allowing them to not have perfect clothes, allowing them to not always look the most put together, allowing them to play and let their shoes get dirty, allowing them to just be who they want to be and have the freedom to kind of learn who they are and have the confidence to do that. So they're not wasting time worrying about other people, worrying about how the society views their mission, how society views their moral compass, or they're not in alignment with like, boys don't do that, boys wear these kind of clothes, boys need to be put together, boys need to do this. I don't want my kids to have this box put on them, this lid put on them that they all have to stay in. I want them to know who they are, be confident with who they are, and give them the space to build off of that. Because like I said, I spent, I don't know how many years worrying about what other people thought, what other people wanted from me, whether it was consciously or subconsciously, my thoughts of like what I thought other people wanted from me. And it took away from my path. It put a ceiling on my opportunities. And I strongly, strongly believe allowing kids to be a little bit different and then walking them through like, okay, this whole process of being different helps them have that confidence. Proof of this for me is one of the twins, both of the twins, actually even my stepson, we painted my stepson's toes as well. We didn't let him paint his fingers because he's not quite there to like not being able to like maybe get offended by somebody commenting on his painted nails. He wanted them though, but we're like, okay, let's build on this confidence just a little bit more before we allow you to go out like that, because we don't want you to like get your feelings hurt or lash out at somebody. But he painted his toes and then the twins painted their fingers and went to school. Not a problem. Not a problem. I don't know. Like nobody said anything, because how you carry yourself, if you carry yourself confidently, nobody really wants to even come at you. I feel like the times that people come at you is usually because they see that you're not fully confident. Like there's like this protective barrier around you when you're confident. So you're like, I'm not even going to try to mess with him. I'm not even going to try to mess with him because he's untouchable. We can't get under his skin. We've tried and we can't get under his skin. He has this barrier of confidence that like, it's not even worth the energy to try to get him riled up. But if somebody is not confident, as soon as you start poking the bear, they poke back, right? You get them to respond. You get them to lash out. You get them to act up. You get them to be outside of their moral compass, outside of the person that they want to be. And so confidence is really like a protective barrier of peace. Like if you can be confident in yourself, you can be confident in your decision. It gives you this protective barrier of peace. And by giving my kids this protective barrier of confidence and peace, they are flourishing in school. Like I said, I allowed my oldest son to do these types of things, to be creative, to think outside the box. He's top of his class in or at the, I don't know if he's the actual top or pretty close to top, but like he'll come home and be like, oh, I have a 95 in that class. I want to get back up to a 98. Like he doesn't even want to be close to an A minus. He wants it to be up there. He does extra credit to get it. Like he wants to be at the top because he has that pride in himself. He has that confidence in himself because he has this protective barrier of confidence. He's not worried about what other people are saying. He's not constantly having to like fight battles that aren't his. He's not constantly having to look side to side. He's focused on himself. Brewer, who is one of my twins, I have this right here, you guys. This was super exciting this morning, and I was already planning on having this as my topic for the day before I got this. But I got this letter this morning from the school. I was already planning on talking about this topic because I just believe so strongly in it, and I know other people have varying opinions. They're like, you can't do that to boys. You're gonna ruin him. You're gonna be whatever. And everybody's entitled to their opinion. I have a protective confidence barrier though, so you keep your barrier, I'll keep mine, and we live our lives. And what's the best alignment for us? That this to me is the best in alignment for me and my beliefs. And I do think that everybody has a little bit different beliefs. Everybody has a little bit different core values. Everybody has a little bit different morals. This is my belief on this topic: is allow kids to be outside the box, allow them to build that confidence. But like I mentioned, oldest son, top of the class, the son that is at school right now with painted fingernails. I just got this letter from the school. And it says, this letter is to inform you your child's qualification for the highly capable program in the areas of English, language arts, and mathematics. Your child has a composite score in the 99th percentile. 99th percentile. Do you know how much time I free up, or he has freed up in his brain, because he's not worried about what other people think? He stays focused on what he thinks of him. He has that pride in himself. He has that confidence in himself. And imagine if we gave our kids that chance to be successful by teaching them how to not get distracted by other people's opinions, to not get distracted by other people's meanness, to not get distracted by other people's fears. There's a lot of people that are afraid to dream bigger. They're afraid to think outside the box. They're afraid to not stay in alignment. And those people that are afraid are watching side to side. They're watching side to side all the time. They're spending more time watching side to side and making sure they're staying inside the box, making sure they're staying inside the lines, that they can't even focus on where they're trying to go. I don't want my kids to live in fear of what other people are going to think. I don't want my kids to play small because other people aren't trying the things they want to try. The fact that building confidence and giving them that safety and that freedom to be themselves, I strongly believe has set them up for success academically. They're not watching other kids. They're not comparing themselves to other kids in the class. They're not worried what other people think of them and where they're at. They're focused on themselves and what they like and what they think is cool and how they want to show up. So some practical tools that I give my kids when we're practicing this kind of confidence building is we do role play. So if they're going to do something outside the box, we will have a conversation about how we're going to respond if somebody doesn't like it. So are we going to hit them? No. Are we going to yell at them? No. Are we going to name call? No. We're going to say, this is something that I like and you don't have to like it. We also talk about having that confidence in our affirmation. So like, I like this and I'm not hurting anyone by doing it. And so I'm going to continue to do this. I trust my gut. I trust my brain. I trust my creativity on this. So we practice that confident affirmation of like, I trust myself. I'm going to go ahead and do this. We also talk about who we want to be. Like I said, I really want them to focus on like, who do you want to be? How do you want to show up? Do you want to shrink to fit in, or do you want to stand tall and be proud of who you are and proud of the things that you like? Success isn't about fitting in. It's about having the courage to stand out. Kids who build confidence in small wins now are going to be more likely to take the risks later in business, in leadership roles, in creativity. So you're setting your kid up for success. And not that outside opinions are never something that we can try to take in and digest, but it's just saying that we're not going to allow outside opinions change ours just because they're somebody else's. We're not going to just adopt outside opinions because of fear or because of the unknown or because we don't trust ourselves. No, I'm going to trust myself. I'm going to take outside opinions, but I'm still going to know that I trust my gut, I trust my heart, and I trust my head, and have the confidence to move forward in that. So maybe you don't want to let your kids paint your nails, which I totally understand and I respect, but what could you do this week to allow your kids to step outside the box and then practice those things that we talked about earlier, where we have the role play, we have the confidence affirmations, we have the who do you want to be, the moral compass, how do you want to show up in this world? And when we practice these things over and over on these small wins, we're setting ourselves up for success. And for yourself as well. Have you been playing small? Have you been staying inside the lines? Have you been being too afraid to kind of take the risk in your life? You put the ceiling on your life because you don't want the outside opinions. You're afraid of what other people are going to think. I encourage you to also step outside the box and have these same confidence affirmations and have these same talks with yourself. Like, how am I going to respond if somebody says, "What are you doing? You're crazy. You quit your job." I trust myself. I trust my gut. I trust my heart. I trust my head. I trust my gut. I trust my heart. I trust my head. And the more confidence we can build in ourselves, the easier it is going to be to make decisions, to push forward, to lean into the best version of ourselves, to lean in the person that we're meant to be, to not put those caps and those ceilings on our life. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Addicted to Quitting, where we are focusing on quitting the habits that no longer serve us so we can elevate our health, our habits, and our happiness. Your habit that we want to quit today is quit staying in the box. Quit making your kids stay in the box because you're afraid they're going to get made fun of. Let them get made fun of. Teach them how to handle it so they can build confidence in themselves and become a strong, confident person. Build that inner moral compass. Build that pride in who they are so that they want to show up for them, not because they're afraid of what other people will think if they do not show up. Thank you again for hanging out with me. If you liked this episode, if this was helpful, if you thought this was empowering, be sure to share it on all social media platforms. Tag me everywhere. I'd love to hear your opinions if you want to DM me at any time. And thank you so much again for listening. I'll see you next time.